Now, back to Willard and Dibs.
What is your favorite or the best play on words using your last name that you've heard?
That ball got Schmidt on.
Oh!
On 95.7 The Game.
Hey, Casey Schmidt went yard this weekend. That was yesterday, right? First inning, left field, gave the Giants the lead. Ultimately, they win that game to finish off the sweep. Casey Schmidt, that was him from Willard and Dibs earlier this season, had some funny moments. So welcome back to Willard and Dibs here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Willard off. It's Dan Dibley, FP Santangelo, Mark Grandi with you until 6 o'clock, talking Giants at the trade deadline. 888-957-9570. Blake Snell seems to be the biggest domino that the Giants have. There's a lot riding in the starting pitching market that might ultimately just be waiting on a Blake Snell decision one way or another to be made. And there are a lot of starting pitcher needy and hungry teams out there that I'm sure are on the phone and have been on the phone with Farhan Zaidi and the Giants throughout the last handful of days, and I'm sure we'll continue into tomorrow as well. That's a big question, but the Giants, I think, guys, for the first time in a number of years, the Giants legitimately have a number of really attractive players on the trade market. Like you were talking about, last year, what should they have done? Should they have bought? Should they have sold? Whatever the case was, if you were going to sell, like your highest value player might have been someone like Wilmer Flores, or Evan brought up 2020. You maybe could have sold Evan Longoria. Like, okay, maybe that gets you a single A prospect who isn't expected to do much, but you could legitimately get, who knows if they're going to turn out to be a good player, but you could get a decent return for someone like Blake Snell, you would think, maybe Robbie Ray, Matt Chapman. Now, ultimately, you'll see how it all plays out. But, guys, really for the first time in a while, the Giants have players that other teams kind of are desperate to try to get their hands on if possible.
Yes, but at the same time, you have players that you should be desperate to try to keep, especially when you're in a window where now you're just 3.5 games out and you legitimately have a chance to make the playoffs. And if you make the playoffs with this rotation, you can make some noise, right?
Do you believe that? I mean, I know you were having some fun at Mark Willard's expense last week talking about
it.
That's what you do, and you do a very good job of it. Talking about how the math is still there, Mark. The math is still there.
Yeah.
I know you were kind of doing it tongue-in-cheek.
A little bit, but the math was still there. And now
is it less tongue-in-cheek now? Do you believe that this team could make noise?
For sure. I mean, if you have this level of pitching, and Logan Webb has been a little shaky the last few outings, but he's still very, very good. Snell's been unhittable. Robbie Ray was near perfect. Hayden Birdsong has been just spectacular. And FP, something that you talk a lot about and something that I think about when I hear you say it, just having seen a guy. They haven't seen Hayden Birdsong. Most of these teams haven't seen him. So
well, the Rockies did.
Right. And
back-to-back outings against the Rockies.
Exactly.
And Birdsong dominated.
Dude, he threw a curveball yesterday, and they zoomed in on him for the one shot, and it struck somebody out, and he goes, hoo, hoo, hoo. That was effing nasty. Like to himself. I love that.
I love his self-talk because he talks to himself.
Yeah, he was complimenting himself. Like he was feeling it. Like, woo, that was nasty, bro. You could read his lips. I'm like, I love it. You hear the little perspective for you guys right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to be a buzzkill, but like a little perspective. On August 3rd last year, the Giants were 61-49, 12 games over 500. They went out this offseason and they signed Jung-Hoo to 6 years, 113. Blake Snell to 2 years, 62. Matt Chapman to 3 years, 54. Jordan Hicks to 4 years, 44. Jorge Soler, slow down, 3 years to 42. Tom Murphy, 2 years, 8.25. And so their total spending in the offseason was $324 million.
Behind only the Dodgers, and they were ahead
six
because
games
of
under 500 right now.
Yeah.
And we're saying how last year was such a failure, and they stunk, and they fired the manager, and they went out and signed these guys. So when you talk to people that say this is up to the players, it's up to the players. And I know they're missing Jung-Hoo big time. Nobody talks about that. This guy's a baseball player. And he was really, really good in center field. He gave you great at-bats. He put the ball in play. He didn't strike out. All things that I think should be valued way more in the game today.
Some speed.
He had some speed and some athleticism. But like $324 million they spent, and they're 6 games under 500. And we're sitting here wondering, like, are they going to make a run? Are they going to make the playoffs? They were 12 over at this time, pretty much this time, close to this time last year, a couple days away. And the manager got fired. And they just took a nosedive in September. And they're 6 games under right now. Like, I don't think people listening right now realize that they were 12 games over last year right around this time.
Well, they're 2 games under right now. They were 6 under before this sweep.
2 games under,
Yeah,
thank you.
53 and 55, 3.5 back of the third wild card spot. I don't the way I feel, and I mean, we were talking about that, what you just laid out off air, and my first reaction to you was, and that team last year was so much worse than this team is, just talent-wise. You just look at the roster and the pitching staff and the lineup, that team nowhere near as talented as this one is. But for whatever reason, whether it's injury or just not fitting well, or, I don't know, you blame Bob Melvin or you blame Farhan or whatever it is, the team hasn't put together wins. And at a certain point, and maybe, you know, my experience just as a fan, not being a player in a clubhouse, FP, maybe this is, you know, why I feel this way. I'm in a position where I feel like if the team, if I'm in a position to make decisions, if I'm the Farhan or whoever in the front office trying to decide if I need to go out and make a move to help this team and get more talent on this roster, I need the team to show me that they deserve it. That they're worth it. You know what I mean? And up to this point, although it is, you know, because of the injuries to Snell and to Ray and to Cobb and all that.
Everybody's got injuries, dude. Everybody's got it. I don't want to hear it.
What has the team done to prove that they deserve that kind of move? I mean, the team last year proved more, and all you got was A.J. Pollock picked off a scrap heap. You didn't get anything last year. So if you didn't get anything last year, how has this team done enough to prove that they deserve you to go out there and help this roster, supplement this roster with someone of decent value from outside the organization?
Yeah, last year, as you said, yeah, I mean, 61 and 49, and then you promptly lost 21 of the next 30, and so you slid from there. And this team is in a much worse spot, and yet everybody wants to, you know, talk about what they can add. This team is better than last year's team, yet at this point in the season, they're in a worse spot. So if I'm Farhan and the rest of the front office, I'm standing pat. I'm looking at the fact that this team is better than last year. And I know last year's team, 61 and 49, I'm looking at it right now, and you proceeded to lose 2 straight to the A's. And then you lost, I think, 7 straight series. You couldn't win any series for the better part of a month. Maybe this team can do the reverse of that and then go on a little bit of a run.
Win 7 straight series?
Maybe.
They're going for their first ever 5-game win streak of the year tomorrow.
Yep.
They've won 4 in a row 3 different times. Kind of oddly enough, 2 of their first 3 4-game win streaks, including this current one, came because they swept the Colorado Rockies. Without the Colorado Rockies, the Giants have 1 4-game win streak this year, and it was the magic that happened against the Pirates and the Mets. If you remember that crazy road trip where they came back from like down by 4 runs in the 8th and 9th inning, time and time again, that's their only 4-game win streak this year that didn't include sweeping the lowly Colorado Rockies. So, again, I think the question that I have for you, FP, is I don't know what the Giants have done that, you know, prove that this team is worth going out and making a move. And maybe it is the standings. Maybe it is that they're within striking distance. But it's also from the 925 on the Xfinity Mobile text line right now. They sweep the worst team in the National League, and now you guys have turned a 180. You are so reactionary. I'm not so sure that we've turned a 180, 925. Appreciate the text. But you cleaned up against the Rockies. You've been like 10 games below 500 against everybody else. That's not necessarily inspiring confidence that this team's 4-game win streak right now is real.
Let me explain something to you. It doesn't matter who you beat at the highest level. It's just winning games. It's hard to win at the highest level no matter who you're playing. So all of a sudden you win 4 games against the team you're supposed to beat. You're coming into the clubhouse. The smoke machine's going. The music's playing. And now you're having fun playing baseball again, and you're remembering that feeling as a group of what it's like to win. And it's kind of Pavlovian in a sense that when you're out there, you want the music to play. You want to have fun in the clubhouse. You want to get on the bus to the airport and screw around and not have to worry about what anybody's thinking. You want to be on the plane and play the music and play cards. Winning at the highest levels is the greatest thing ever, and it's got to start somewhere. I was with a team in 2019 that won the World Series. They were 19 and 31 to start the year. They swept the Marlins 4 games who were worse than the Rockies, and that catapulted them to that feeling I'm talking about. In a day and age in baseball where we have so many things that are measurable and quantifiable, these things about guys that are winning players and winning and the feeling of winning and the relaxation that provides, that I can just go out there and play to my highest athletic ability, that I'm not tight. I'm not trying to go 5 for 4. I just go 1 for 4 with a walk and score a run. We're going to play the music. Maybe I make a backhanded play, throw it across, get a guy, save a run. Now all of a sudden we're playing as a group. We're playing together. We're playing as a unit, and we love to win, and we got that feeling back. Can I sit here and tell you That's it. That's positively the turnaround of the season. I don't know that. I just know that when you win 4 games in a row and you sweep any team at the big leagues, I don't care what their record is, they're not going around going, oh, we swept the Rockies. They would know they won 4 in a row and they swept the series, and they're feeling pretty damn good about themselves for the first time in a long time. It doesn't matter who. The negative fan out there will say, well, they beat the Rockies. If you've been in clubhouses and you've been around sports and you know the inner workings and the dynamics of the confidence level and the relaxation that provides, now you want to win every night. Now guys are screwing around. Now I'm getting on you, bro, and I'm saying things I couldn't say a week ago. I'm getting on you, and you're getting on me, and we're ragging on each other. Or maybe we were all on our phones checking out Instagram, and it was super quiet. But now there's just a different feel and a different vibe. Does this translate into the Giants get to the playoffs and they make great moves or they sweep the A's? I don't know. But I know it's got to start somewhere, and it doesn't matter who it starts against.
Yeah, and you've got 12 games now coming up against teams that are probably not having that same good feeling that you're having because they're below 500. And Oakland, it's been a scuffle all year, and Cincinnati's been up and down, and right now they're down. And Washington, you know Washington better than most. And
I don't know them anymore. I couldn't tell you 3 guys on the team.
They're in a bad spot. And you got 4 against Washington, and then you've got Detroit, a team that's struggling as well. So I know that all these teams are paid professionals, and it's never as easy as, well, we're better than you, so we're going to win all these games. But you can feel a little bit like you can go on some sort of a roll over these next 12 against teams that aren't that great.
Yeah, this is from Jeff Young. Good follow if you're a Giants fan. Next 4 series, 12 games, as Dib just said, against teams with losing records. In fact, 17 of the next 21 games are against teams who have losing records. So if they're going to take advantage of the schedule, the time is now.
I think you could easily make the case for either side of this. And I know FP, it's not as, binary as, either selling or buying. And it's usually a little bit of both. And it's just figuring out what's the best value play and how do you add value to the organization. And if you get a great offer for someone, you do it. But if you're not getting that offer, then you hold on to them almost regardless of what the situation is. If you know something about a player that you have that you don't quite like and you're eager to get rid of them, okay, maybe you consider that when they're still a good player, whatever the situation is. But, you could legitimately, there's a very easy case to be made on both sides of this argument. And I think it's why the fan base is pretty split right now. And you can give us a call and let us know what you think the Giants should do. If we are choosing 2 distinct paths, is it buy or is it sell? If it is buying, or at the very least, as you're laying out, Dibs, not waving the white flag and just standing pat and treating Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb as your deadline acquisitions because they're getting healthy. Ray's made 1 start. Cobb is now slated to start over the weekend against the Cincinnati Reds. You treat that as an acquisition. And the reason why you would consider doing that is everything you guys are just laying out. They're finally healthy. This pitching staff looks great. Over the weekend, there are 3 starting pitchers, ignoring the game yesterday because that was a bullpen game, just talking about Harrison, Snell, and Birdsong. 17 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 34 strikeouts, and 7 walks.
It sounds pretty good.
That's pretty darn good. Yeah. And you pair that with a relatively weak schedule moving forward. You pair that with the fact that the NL, the National League, is relatively top-heavy, very top-heavy. With the Dodgers and the Phillies, who have kind of distanced themselves. Everybody else is a little better than mediocre at the very best. The Braves, they are falling on hard times because of all their injuries. The NL is gettable in terms of the wild card race. And that's the case to buy, or at least to stand pat and not wave the white flag, not to trade Blake Snell, not to trade Matt Chapman, not to get rid of all these players, but just be patient, let it play out, and maybe you catch lightning in the bottle. Not that different from what happened in 2010. Not that different from what happened in 2014. Not that different from what happened with the Nationals when they won the World Series. Not that different with what happened with the Arizona Diamondbacks just last year in the National League, and they went all the way to the World Series. Meanwhile, the flip side is the team's 2 games under 500. They can hardly hit their way out of a paper bag. Jorge Soler has hit 12 home runs so far this year, and Matt Chapman struggling to hit 240. And Jung-Hoo Lee missed the entire season from early May, and all these different things. And Logan Webb struggles a little bit lately, and you can easily make the case why this team should maybe sell. And then you also consider what the rest of the league is doing, and there are so many starting pitcher hungry teams out there, and there's so few starting pitchers on the market. I can easily make the case for both sides, and honestly, last week I was kind of dead set on believing this team wasn't really going to be able to do anything, but I can legitimately see the case for both sides, and I think it's why in that front office right now, as Farhan's answering calls from other GMs, he's not exactly sure which way this is all going to turn out come almost 24 hours exactly from now.
I just don't see the thought process on selling when you are this close to the playoffs. You're 3.5 back, and you fancy yourself as a big market team, and you're a team that always wants to be in the mix, and you are now finally in the mix. So
Grandi, you said something. Sorry, Dibs.
No, go ahead.
Grandi, you said something earlier about do they deserve? Like I don't know about that. But based on the way the rest of the league is playing and how many doors are open right now, I know there's 3 teams in front of you for that third wild card spot.
You have to jump 4 teams to get into a playoff spot.
You can do that with another good week. I'm not worried about that. And you talk about trade acquisitions. The biggest question mark to me and the thing I wanted most in the trade was a shortstop. And maybe you got one now in Tyler Fitzgerald, and maybe that's an acquisition.
Guy we never expected.
So check that box. Like, you don't need to go out and get Bo Bichette because, I don't know, they're trading him, or just name another shortstop. You have one now, at least for the rest of this year. It's still a small sample size. I don't know if he's this good. I do know that his skill set's off the charts.
He's not 8 home run in 10 game good. We can agree on that.
And he's going good right now, and I think he's going to go good to the rest of the season. I want to see how he reacts to maybe going 1 for 15. And we're going to have Ned Coletti on at 3 o'clock in about 10 minutes, former assistant GM of the Giants and former GM of the Dodgers, who's forgot more about trade deadline acquisitions than you and I and Dibs will ever know.
Especially me and Dibs, that's for sure. But yeah, Ned Coletti coming up in 10 minutes. It's going to be interesting to pick his brain about how this whole thing works out. Yeah, I generally come from a spot where going into every season, unless you're some crazy juggernaut like you're the Dodgers or you're the Yankees or maybe even the Orioles, I kind of want my team to enter the trade deadline with the idea, kind of the baseline of selling, or at the very least not going out there and buying. But if my team plays well enough, or I see the picture coming together and I realize and understand that they're a piece away, a couple of pieces away from being a true contender, then I'll be willing to go out there and maybe give up a top flight prospect to go out and get another proven guy on right now. But I need my team to prove that they deserve that move. And I think most Giants fans will say this team hasn't proven that just yet.
And what's the move? That's, for me, that is what FP was kind of talking about. Like, we all were saying shortstop before, but now the shortstop you have, you may want to hit him third because he's probably your best hitter.
Hit third yesterday.
Right. He might be the best hitter in the National League. He's on a course to maybe be National League Player of the Month, for crying out loud. So shortstop's not it. And what, you want to find another first baseman, a right-hand hitting first baseman, somebody who can be there instead of Wilmer?
Well, if you're going out and making a big move, at least, and you guys can disagree with me, I think like it's got to be something, not just, maybe it's less about this season, honestly, and it's more about 2025 and 2026. Like, you're going out and you're trying to get Vladdy. I know that's going to cost you like Eldridge and Wisenhunt or whatever it would.
I'm not trading Eldridge. That guy can hit. That guy can flat out rake. But like, I'd call him up right now and let him play first. Like, he can hit.
He's still in single A, right?
Yeah, who cares? Let's go. I'm going to teach you guys, just promise me, I want you guys to learn something the next 2 days I'm here. Like, try to forget the buy or sell mentality and try to like wrap your head around making your team better. And whatever that is, to make your team better. It could be you trade some guys here to get a guy there. It could be you do this or do that. But to me, it's not buy or sell. It's what value am I going to add to my team this year to make a run and to make me better for 2025.
Well, it
doesn't have to be buy or sell. Like,
I get that. And I
does that make sense, or does that sound
stupid? It makes perfect sense. And I think that as we look at this year in particular, like, how can you get this team to be better? What piece are you looking for to make this team better? Forget what you'd have to give up, but like, what are you missing for this team? You could probably use another arm in the bullpen who couldn't. I do think you could use a right-hand hitting first baseman.
You need some hitters, man.
Yeah, you need some hitters.
I want some hitters.
Right.
But who's out there?
Exactly. And, you're seeing a lot of hitters, go off the market, guys who are mediocre.
Luis Robert and Vladdy. Those are the 2 big ones, right? I don't know. But that's going to cost you everything you can to go and get them. And who knows if that's going to be worth it. I'm not so sure. All right, 888-957-9570. Ned Coletti coming up in just a little bit. Former assistant GM of the Giants, former GM of the Dodgers, currently a scout for the San Jose Sharks, by the way. Ned Coletti. But let's go back to the phone lines here. 888-957-9570. Gil in San Francisco wants to join the conversation. Gil, what's up? You're on Willard and Dibs. It's FP, Dibs, and Grandi with you. How you doing, Gil?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Gil. What's up?
Hey, so, okay, you guys are talking about with the buy or sell. Okay, I understand that last year the team was at a better spot with lesser guys than this year. But, okay, we all know that we've had all kinds of, injuries and this and that and players getting together. They finally got their groove on. Every once in a while, they start hitting. Soler, for some reason, is hitting great at the top of the lineup. Just leave him alone there. He's fine. Okay, the group of pitchers we have, if we get in to the, even if it's the last playoff, man, we have the most fearsome starting pitching that anybody has. I say go buy. Who do I buy? Is the Mets' Pete Alonso still available? I'm not talking about a rental. I'm talking about you go to the Mets, you talk to Boris, you say we do a sign and trade. Let's say Alonso's going to make 30, 35. Let's say $40 million probably on the open market. Offer him $50 million, 10 years, $50 million, Boris. Right now, you know your boy's not going to get that. Lock him down for 10 years. We'll have him till what he's 40. Okay, big deal. 39. That's the way to go. Get a power first baseman.
You realize the Mets are in the playoffs as we speak.
Yeah, they are buyers, heavy buyers now.
They're not going to trade Pete Alonso.
Also, Scott Boras has no. He's not deciding what the Mets do. He's just the agent of the player. It's going to be Steve Cohen, who's in charge of everything Mets right now, is going to figure out what they're going to do. They might be in the market for Blake Snell. They're probably on the phone with Farhan. They've been on the phone with Farhan today, I would imagine, about Blake Snell. But yeah, they're not trading away Pete Alonso. You might be able to get him as a free agent, although we've been down that road before as Giants fans. But the Mets are suddenly buyers because they've been the hottest team in baseball over the last month and a half.
I'm not trading with anybody that I can catch. Why would you trade? Why would you make a team better that you're trying to catch?
Yeah, and the Mets are right there, right above you.
Padres have interest in Blake Snell. Oh, great. I'm going to make the Padres better in my own division. Well, if I'm going to make the Mets better, I'm trying to catch them.
If you're trading Blake Snell, you're kind of giving up on the year. Whether or not you think that's the right thing or the wrong thing. Blake Snell has been the best pitcher in baseball for the last month. If you're getting rid of him, I don't think you're necessarily counting on yourself to make a run right now. You can think it's the wrong decision, but if you do that, you're kind of giving up, aren't you? I guess give up is never a word uttered in between those halls, but
gather value for the end of this season and next season. However you have to.
Yeah, gather value does not feel like you're making a push for the playoffs. Gather value feels like it's a punt.
Make yourself better.
You can use whatever terminology you want.
Yeah, you talking
if you take your best pitcher and you trade him to another team, you're giving up.
Yeah, gathering value for 2025 and beyond is selling for 2024.
Look at MLB Network right now. They got Blake Snell as the backdrop of their set, and they
best
just keep
fit for Blake Snell.
Yeah, they keep changing jerseys on him. Look at there's a Cubs jersey.
They had him in a Padres
jersey. They got him in a Cubs jersey right now.
They didn't need to.
They had him in a Padres jersey. He doesn't look very happy in the picture that he's taken right behind John Heyman, who's just making stuff up as we speak. Just I don't know. I think the Cubs want him. I don't know. Oh, he's got a Mets jersey on now.
Steve Cohen needs to get a starter. He would love Blake Snell.
Tremendous production value by the MLB Network. Oh, there he's in a Yankees uniform. Blake Snell's in a Yankees uniform.
We'll see how it all plays out. The trade deadline. The trade deadline, 24 hours, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds away. We're getting close to the trade deadline, and we'll be on the air tomorrow for it. We're on the air with you for 3 more hours. Today, it's Willard and Dibs. Willard's out, so it's Dibs, FP, and Grandi with you. On the other side, former assistant GM of the Giants, former GM of the Dodgers, Ned Colletti, will join us to talk us through everything going on a Major League front office during this time of the year. That's coming up on the other side as Willard and Dibs continues on 95.7 The Game.